My dear Mr. Bennet, have you heard that Netherfield Park is let at last?
I have not.
But it is! Well, Miss Long has just been here and she told me all about it. Do you not want to know who has taken it?
You want to tell me, and I have no objection to hearing it.
Why, my dear, you must know. Miss Long says that Netherfield is taken by a young man of large fortune from the north of England, that he came down on Monday in a chaise and four to see the place, and was so much delighted with it that he agreed with Mr. Morris immediately. That he is to take possession before Michaelmas, and some of his servants are to be in the house by the end of next week.
What is his name?
Bingley.
Married or single?
Oh, single, my dear, to be sure. A single man of large fortune, 4 or 5,000 a year. What a fine thing for all girls.
How so? How can it affect them?
My dear Mr. Bennet, how can you be so tiresome? You must know that I am thinking of marrying one of them.
Is that his design in settling here?
Design? Nonsense, how can you talk so? But it is very likely that he may fall in love with one of them, and therefore you must visit him as soon as he comes.
I see no occasion for that. You and the girls may go, or you may send them by themselves, which perhaps may still be better, for you as handsome as any of them. Mr. Bingley may like you best of the party.
My dear, you flatter me. I certainly have had my share of beauty, but I do not pretend to be anything extraordinary now. When a woman has 5 grown-up daughters, she ought to give over thinking of her own beauty.
In such cases, a woman has not much beauty to think of.
But my dear, you indeed must go see Mr. Bingley when he comes into the neighbourhood.
It's more than I engage for, I assure you.
But consider your daughters. Only think of what an establishment it would be for one of them. Sir William and Sir Lady Lucas are determined to go, merely on that account, for in general, you know, they visit no newcomers. Indeed, you must go, for it will be impossible for us to visit him if you don't.
You are over scrupulous, surely. I dare say Mr. Bingley would be very glad to see you, and I will send a few lines by you to assure him of my hearty consent to marrying whichever he chooses, though I must throw in a good word for little Lizzie.
I desire you will do no such thing. Lizzie is not better than the others, and I'm sure not half as handsome as Jane, nor half as good-humoured as Lydia, but you are always giving her the preference.
They have none of them much to recommend. They are silly and ignorant like other girls, but Lizzie has something more of a quickness than her sisters.
Mr. Bennet, how can you abuse your own children in such a way? You take delight in vexing me. You have no compassion for my poor nerves.
You mistake me, my dear. I have high respect for your nerves. They are my old friends. I have heard you mention them with consideration for the last 20 years.
Mr. Bennet was so odd a mixture of quick parts, sarcastic humour, reserve, and caprice, that the experience of 23 years had been insufficient to make his wife understand his character. Her mind was less difficult to develop. She was a woman of mean understanding, little information, and uncertain temper. When she was discontented, she fancied herself nervous. The business of her life was to get her daughters married. Its solace was visiting and news.